Welcome to another episode of For Footballers Only, brought to you by DC11. I'm Mike,
I'm James Pinay.
and today we have a special guest.
I'm Ty. People know me as Foot Doctor Ty Hall 41 via IG. So
The Foot Doctor.
Yes,
The Foot
yes.
Doctor.
Show, man.
Welcome.
Yep.
All right, Ty. Let's just get right into it. Where does your football story begin?
wow. I grew up playing football in Maryland. You know what I mean? I think where my true football story began, like I went to Mount St. Joe High School, West Baltimore City, and I think there is where I really picked up like the passion and the knowledge that I could ball. So I went from there, and then one of my high school teammates was playing for Bethesda, and that's pretty much all she wrote. Once I got into a system that like knew what they were doing and knew how to groom footballers, both technically and tactically, it just went wild from there.
Nice. All right. So let's backtrack a little bit. So you started, like, at what age did you start playing?
Football was my first sport. That's the first sport I played. So I was a baby. Whenever I think it was like 5-6 years old, I started playing that. But I also played all the sports too. So like I grew up in your normal like black family home. So I played American football, played basketball. I ran track. So it wasn't until like I would say like 7th, 8th grade is when I just kind of threw all the other sports aside and was like, I want to play pro. This is my sport, you know.
So then you were playing rec during this time, and then I think you say in high school is when you linked up with Bethesda, right?
Yeah.
And so at that point, did you have a football idol?
Yeah. I had a football idol probably in 98. 98. It was Edgar Davids, actually. He was playing for AC Milan. So it was another guy. He had dreads, and he just kind of made it tangible for me. Like, all right, because like where I grew up, it wasn't cool to play the sport. You know what I mean? So like guys that looked like me weren't playing the sport. You know what I'm saying? So Edgar Davids made it real for me, and then I started falling in love with like the Cristiano Ronaldo's when he was at Sporting. Seeing like his style was like kind of like translatable to like the M1 basketball. So I was like, oh snap, like you can make people look silly in this sport like this. So from then it was just all she wrote. I was like, yeah, this is my sport. This is my thing, you know?
Yeah.
So going back, right? Who introduced you to the sport?
Like I said, it was my first sport I played. So it was more my father was just like, I want my son to be an athlete type thing. So whatever he can get himself into, I'm gonna put him into all the sports. So, but like who introduced me to the culture of the sport?
Yeah.
I would say it was one of my friends. He's from Ghana, and his father had played high level in Ghana. I think for like Ashanti Kotoko. I think that's the club name.
Yeah, Kotoko.
So yeah, that was in like 7th grade, and then like he made it real for me, like really starting to know the culture of the game.
Nice.
Yeah.
You said you got into it. You found your idol in '98, right?
Mm-hmm.
But usually, it was interesting actually hearing you say it was Davies, and what you said was, like, so you were watching Serie A games. Is that
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm saying this is because that's a wild time to find your idol, right? Because 98. Because listen, I mean, maybe you didn't know this, but 98, right?
Mm.
There's the World Cup, right?
Yeah.
In that World Cup, you have gods of the game.
Yeah.
You know, like, of course, then you go to the final where it's, you know, the God himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The God show his chest. You know what I mean? Like he was like, okay, you know, this is my throne, and you know, I'm holding it. So you got Sanan, you got, you know, R9,
yeah, Romario, you had all the top guys.
Ronaldo. You got, you know, you just go down the list, right? Nelson, Okocha,
big baller.
Big
baller.
But and then also, you know, also during that time, there's like that's when Nike was really trying to hit hard. So they had all kinds of commercials going, right? So a lot. That's probably where you probably first saw Davies, actually.
Yeah, Davies with the goggles, putting the ball on the back of his neck, doing the spin, letting his hair fly. The Nike Page commercials, all that, man. All that.
So it's for me. I think it's interesting that you picked him. He's everybody knows he's one of my one of the top. He's for me. He redefined the defensive midfield position. I mean, I don't want to make the show about me, but okay. So yeah, so I just think it's interesting that you picked him out of all these other guys. But since you picked him, that's good. Well, I'm going to ask you a question we ask everyone. I don't know if you've had a chance to see, but there's no right answer, and there's no wrong answer.
Okay.
And given that you're a footballer and you're in the football culture, whatever you say, your peoples are gonna get at you. I just want you to know.
Of course, that's life.
I just want you to know. You know what I mean? Like just how we've been having this like long conversations before the interview about like other stuff. Imagine this one. This one you going on a record. Okay.
Oh man, here we go.
Yeah. So the question is this: who is in your list of top 11 footballers of all time?
Oof, of all time.
Yeah.
I like that question, but sometimes I get that question a lot. But it's like there's players that like I didn't see play. Like I can only see highlights or like the story's been told. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's never a correct answer in this one.
Mm-hmm.
But just off the top, I would say for me, starting in goal, I would either put Dita or I'll put, because I seen him play live, and this is one off the Richter scale, will be like Yuski Jaskalainen from Bolton. Baller goalkeeper. I seen him play live. So Dita or him, left back, man, I can go old school and go Maldini when he was at left back, or I can go Roberto Carlos. You know what I'm saying? Obviously. Center back.
Okay, hold on. Yeah. So you're doing the same cheating I did when we were talking about who would I pick for coaches, right? You're all right. So you got to pick one. No, but here's the thing. You don't have to pick them per position, right? Okay. I mean that's good. You could do that, like, and that's fine. But it should be 11. Right now you already have 4, and you just with goalie and left back.
Okay. See, I'm thinking from a coach perspective, so like I'm giving you positions.
Yeah. No, that's fine. You can do that as well. You can do that.
I'll just go top. I'll go top to bottom.
Okay.
I'll go top to bottom.
Okay.
After seeing Pele, I'll go Pele, Maradona. I know I'm gonna get flack off of this, but I'm gonna go Ronaldo, Messi.
Which Ronaldo?
CR7.
Okay.
Off the career.
Okay.
Where am I at? 4?
Yeah.
I'll go R9. I'll go woo. I'll go Dino.
Yeah, 6.
Man, Davids. I throw Davids because he's just personal to me. And on that note, I'll throw Seedorf in there as well. Cafu. I love Cafu.
No.
There's so many. And Zidane. Yeah, got those Zidane in there.
You got one more. Oh,
one more.
You said the keeper already, baby.
No, but this is a new list. This is official.
It's a new list.
Yeah, so you got one more.
You missing another legend in Serie A, man. You didn't even say his name, man.
There's so many though. So many.
It's funny, talking about.
I know what you're talking about, especially given that when he said give me that he picked Davies for that team. But, so anyway, go on.
No. And then for me, I had to throw TH in there. I had to throw Henry in there.
All right. So just so you know, the guy James said you were missing. You know who it is?
No. Who's he talking about? Baggio?
No, George Weah.
Oh, George Weah.
Okay, yeah. There's tons. There's tons of them.
Legend.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean that was a tough list. I mean, but of course,
yeah, because I didn't throw this Eto, this Okacha, man. This is a million.
True.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It was no, that was an official list.
Yeah.
You left out Cruyff.
Yeah, left out Cruyff.
Oh man, no,
There's
that was
too
good.
many. You gonna pick Cruyff? You gonna pick Dino?
Yeah, I mean,
Woo.
game changers. You
Game
left
changes.
out Roberto Carlos, right? Yeah, because you
And
picked
I picked him at the left back, but then I mean, for me, I like watching Cafu because I watched him more because I used to watch Serie A way more than any other league. So like, I seen Cafu ball for a long time.
Yeah.
Obviously, Roberto Carlos is special. We know that. But for me, I go Cafu.
Yeah.
I even throw Maicon in there for real because I love the way Maicon played as a right back. So when he was on fire, there's so many players, man. So many players.
Yeah.
I didn't say Totti, like so many players.
Yeah, no, Totti's Baggio.
Totti's a beast.
One of my favorite players that, probably will not make anybody's top 20 is Antonio Cassano. You know what I'm saying? So it's just too many players, and I'm a dribbler. I didn't even say Robinho. You know what I mean?
Or Denelson.
Or Denelson, yeah. The king of step, man. There's so many ballers, man.
Oh man, getting busy. No, yeah, I mean that like I cannot imagine, like finding my football idol in '98. That would be crazy. I mean, like,
but for me, it was easy though. It's easy though. Like I said, like where I grew up, if you went outside the crib with football gear on, you were either going to have to fight or you're going to have to be slick with your words. You know what I mean? But like for me, it was like it didn't really matter so much because I could hoop, and I could play football as well. You know what I mean? So seeing Davids was just like, yo, like there's actually somebody with locks. There's somebody like that skilling people, and like you said, he revolutionized how he played the sixth position because, bro, like he was throwing skills like in his defensive half, but also like cracking dudes. You know what I mean? So it was like the skill and the tackling together with the locks. And if you watch my tape, it's like it's obvious. You know what I mean?
That's a culture icon, man. No, it's true.
Yeah, no. I mean, like the thing with Davies is like, I mean, like he's iconic off the field, right? Because almost like how like a lot of folks talk about Dino's flair, and then the samba and all this stuff, and how he gets that from futsal. Davids has something similar but it's from street ball. Do you know what I mean? Like, because he played a lot, and even to this day, like he even plays on. He does a lot of street ball playing. But so there's that. That's for me. Like that's part of the reason. Like I like him so much is there's that. But then on the field, this guy, like I actually like because a lot of people people will come like we'll start talking about the game and these different positions and stuff, and they'll talk about six. They'll talk about SCN. They'll talk about Conte. I mean, you go down to Makalele. They'll talk about all these guys. Like even Vieira. I mean, like they go down to all these people, and I'll say, okay, that's good. It's like there's a guy there that all these guys that you're naming look up to.
Yep.
Like because he transformed. Like he was the complete. Similar to the way a lot of forwards talk about R9, right? Like being a complete 9. Where this guy was a complete 6. Like, I mean, in a way that just has never, like, it's different. Like, he was really.
Pitbull, man.
Yeah. All right. So, we could do that all day, talking about some of our idols. But so let's go back to your story. So you're in high school, you're balling out with your high school team, and then what was and what you point out was that you were learning the game both from a tactical standpoint as well as like a technical standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then So what was the next steps for you as a footballer?
Okay, so Bethesda with Steve Campbell was the coach. So the next steps were, so I started growing each year, getting to the ODP, the regional scene. And then like my Bethesda team, we took a trip to England my senior year. And I think that trip was like, all right, Ty, like these are academy kids. You guys are beating some of these teams. And then now you're getting interest from these academy coaches. So that made it real for me. Like I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to college. Like, I don't want to do that whole thing. And plus, to be completely honest, my grades in high school weren't so great to get into the schools that were like actually recruiting me. You know what I mean? So it was a big beef in my house with like, because like I said, my parents don't know they didn't know the football culture at that time. You know what I mean? So it was a big beef in my house. Like I wanted to go overseas. I wanted to pursue pro ball. They were like, nah, go to school. So I ended up going to school. Actually, it was actually a decent experience my first semester playing, but I wasn't doing the school thing. You know what I mean? I was just playing. And it just got to the point where my grades weren't allowing me to play. You know what I mean? So I ended up I just literally just stopped going to class, and I used that time to make money in ways that I'm not really proud about. But I saved money and literally just called my pops one day and was like, hey, I'm dropping out of school. I'm flying to Brazil because I'm trying to play ball. And I literally wrote down my conversation to my father a month before I called him. Let me get out of that right quick. Yeah, a month before I called him. So anyway, to make a long story quicker, I flew to Brazil. I found this agent online, took a huge chance because we all know how dangerous Brazil can be. Flew into Rio, flew into this house. I trained with this youth club for a couple of days, and then they sent me to São Cristóvão, which is actually the first club that R9 played for. So on the stadium, it's like they have it in Portuguese, like here a phenomenon was born. Like that's his stadium now. São Cristóvão. It was at that time it was Carioca Division 2. So it was not the league where Corinthians plays Flamingos play Cruzeiro. It was like that regionals league, Division 2. And man, I just remember not being afraid at all. Now I think the older we get, the more logical we become. You know what I mean? And at that time, it was just it was easy for me to go in there and just express myself and play. They were calling me Bobby because I still had locks then. They were a little shorter, but they were calling me Bobby, short for Bob Marley. And yeah, but I think going into a pro environment without having a mentor, and then also not really experiencing being cut from a team. So that's what happened. So I was there for a while. I was getting in preseason matches, scrimmages. I was sitting the bench during matches, pissed off. And that was just my ego of just not knowing what it meant to be a pro. You know what I mean? Especially coming from where I came from. So when that situation came to an end, I just kind of went mad at the world, played that victim's role real heavy. You know what I mean? And made a couple bad decisions. And then, boom, I went from playing pro in Brazil as a 19-year-old to going on, I call it, a vacation. And, yeah, man, life got real quick. Let's just say that. Yeah, man.
So all right. So after the vacation, what you came back after November.
Yeah.
You went on vacation till November, and you came back. Then what happened? What was next?
So yeah, came back, and man, first of all, I was I gained a good 70 pounds on vacation, and I came back, and a couple of my homeboys were in the midst of pursuing professional ball, and they were going out getting invited back to preseasons, but not finishing their tests and signing their contracts. And then they came back one time, and I played a men's league game with them, and I was like, whoa, like I could still ball a little bit. Like this can actually work. If they're getting invited back to preseason, why don't I just put the work in and see what I can do? And that's what I did. I just went nuts. I was doing 3 days for a good 2 months, like going hard, like eat and sleeping like my dream, like being obedient to the dream that I was trying to accomplish. And I think now that's what a lot of kids don't understand. Like if you're trying to really accomplish something, you gotta live it through and through. And I hit up this agent. I sent him my highlights from high school, and he was just like, he's like, oh, you went on vacation, I seen, but I think I can work with you. And then I ended up going up to Pennsylvania and signing an indoor contract for Pennsylvania Roar. They were like a new team. So I ended up signing like the last 6 games, and I did extremely well. I went from there to get invited to a combine for the Eagles, Charlotte Eagles in the USL at the time. This was 2014, and I did well. So like I literally was off my vacation for all of 3-4 months before signing my first re-signing, returning to pro football. And then I just kept bouncing around from there. Like I went overseas, played here in the States, indoor for like the last like 9 years or so. So it's been pretty dope.
Nice. All right, we're gonna come back to where you are now, but let's go back to Brazil. You leaving college, realizing that it's not working out, and you want to, go to the land of football.
Right.
You go with the big boys. You didn't even say, oh, let me go to Colombia, let me go to Mexico. I'm just gonna jump right in, right? So you get there. What did you? The first thing is, what did you notice, like from a playing standpoint, the difference in both, pace, style of play here, in college, when you're playing in college, and then, when you transition to Rio?
I would say, honestly, at that time, and even now, if you watch Brazilian league football, in college, it was like, go, 100 miles an hour. Like, who's stronger than next? Who's faster? Who's fitter? But in Brazil, like, they'll take their foot off the gas quick, like they'll take their foot off the gas. They'll be patient, but then it's just like in an instance, it snaps and then boom, we attack, I think that in a sense was an eye opener to me. Coming from college, I was actually I don't say way fitter because there were some fit guys, but like I had the base fitness to survive in those games, because they're a little bit more patient. They play chess, not checkers. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And then technically, everybody is sound. Like technically, both feet, dribbling with both feet, playing passes with both feet, and everybody's extremely confident. And then the one like major hitter for me was the amount of talking that goes on the field in Brazil compared to what I was used to back here in the States. You know what I mean? Like it's just constant from everybody, and it's demanding, so.
No, actually, I'm listening to you and I'm remembering we played so we were in the futsal nationals at Disney, and in the semis, we played this Brazil. Like, so first of all, the team, we were all, college ballers. You know what I mean? Like, so we're thinking we're the one. And we thought so much about ourselves that we weren't even watching. You know how like normally when you had a tournament, you're supposed to like watch the other games. You know what I mean? Because. No, we knew we were gonna win the futsal national championship for men's that year. Like it was right. It was done, right? It was all these like ballers, etc. And we're in top shape, all that stuff. So we're not watching, and then our game starts, right? Yeah. And they're like, they tell us who we're playing, and it's this Brazilian team, and it's guys, like they literally came straight from Brazil.
Oh yeah. They were
flew in to play, this tournament. And they were all playing pro in Brazil, like all Flamengo got like from different teams as well.
Mm-hmm.
When I tell you, it like for me, right? It was like I couldn't believe it. Like you ever like like futsal, the game is real quick, and like the first that first 12 minutes, I was just like this is not real. Like is this really happening? You know what I mean? Like first of all, we're bouncing off of these guys. You know what I mean? Like if it's a 50-50 ball, you're gonna bounce off. Like you hit the guy, you're gonna bounce off. That's how because it's like their foot was stuck to that futsal pavement. It was insane. Mm-hmm. And then like the talking piece that you're talking about, like with us, we would say, man on, left, over, like that kind of stuff. But with them in Portuguese, it's literally like just like what you said, is nonstop.
Nonstop. Yeah.
Like to the point where like so you don't even know if they're talking to you or like it's like I mean that first one like it was like we were just in a whirlwind. And then we finally, got but by then they had already like pushed this futsal, so but they already pushed the scores like 8-1 or 8-2 or whatever it is.
Man,
you know what I mean? Yeah. No, it was crazy. I mean, it was So I'm just like when you were saying that, I was like, yeah, those guys talk a lot on the field.
Yeah, man.
It's a different story. But okay, not going.
But I just want to add on to right.
Yeah.
Oh, you touched this on the quality of play. Okay. What about the culture? Meaning like because here in the U.S. the Brazil, everyone know, but you been there. Can you tell how the culture is? I'm talking about the fans and the supporters.
Yeah. I actually went to because I was in Rio, so I got to see Vasco play Flamengo in the Maracanã, right? So it's crazy you asked that question because, man, like I've been in some like crazy situations before going to Brazil, but like going to a football match and feeling like, we might be in danger. Like that feeling I never felt before. So you have like the Vasco Ultras and the Flamengo Ultras and guys painted like ready for war, loud. Like you're looking at like, two legit armies. Like now I'm not talking supporters, I'm talking armies. And it's just different, man. They eat, they breathe, they sleep football on a different level. Like there's no comparison to any sport, any fan base in the United States to how they support their squads over there in Brazil. It's just totally different. Totally different.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. I was actually recently watching a documentary about Brazilian football, and this guy was talking about how he was a Santos supporter, and his it was three brothers, one Santos and one's Flamengo, I think, and they go to the game, and the guy that was driving was the Santos supporter, and the other two brothers are Flamengo, right? And there's a I guess semis or whatever it is, and Santos lose. He leaves his brother. Like this is how crazy it is. Like they're at the stadium. He leaves his brothers, go to the car, and leave them there.
Yeah.
Out of anger. He's like, I mean, it was just like he was like, they'll find it. Like to this day, it's like 10, 20 years later. He's like, okay, like you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
It's a different the loyalty, that culture. I mean, it is like we have something similar to that, back home, like on the continent.
Yeah.
Like in Liberia, for instance, there's the IE borrow thing, like you go to Ghana, etc. So, but yeah, okay. So, so then you had a good time. Do you feel like you grew as a player in Brazil as well?
Yeah, most definitely. I went to Brazil as like a forward winger. Like I said, like my game was, getting at players, doing the skills and stuff like that. But I would say like just even becoming more technically sound in the basics, because a lot of the exercises we were doing were like contrary to belief, like a lot of exercises in Brazil was like two touch. Like you play two touch in all different type of facets and possession. Either in 11v11, you're doing 2-touch. So like if your first touch isn't clean, then you're getting found out. You know what I mean? So I think that was the biggest thing. And then just the confidence. Like I came back with like a different level of confidence. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's dope. All right. So let's go back to, you came, you did the vacation, and then you started playing again, and then you stopped hopping around, going to Europe, etc. And then you've been playing indoor for, the last couple of years. Are you still, so where are you right now in your football life?
Oh, well, I'm 32 now. So I'm 32. Last season got cut short because of COVID. But that would have been my last contracted year for indoor. But in the midst of like playing, like especially I got like heavy into training. There were some moments in my career where it was like, oh snap, I'm out of a contract. Like, what am I going to do? And so I started picking up like athletes to train, and that kind of grew. So right now, over the last 3 years, my clientele base from like training has gone from like, little Johnny on the corner to like training guys that played, Champions League ball or like that's played in the Euros. So that's pretty much like has been my focus for the last like 2 years. Less of like playing, but now I'm trying to get into like the scouting network and running a club myself and stuff like that. So that's pretty much where I am right now.
Yeah. So what do you, okay, so you said a couple of things. So you're training, coaching, scouting, etc. What do you find to be the most challenging thing in those different realms?
Most challenging? I would say as a whole, like tying everything together. And then also like removing myself as a player and like really giving myself to the athletes that you work with. You know what I mean? And like we were saying earlier about like having a coach that can get the best out of players. So I like to like liken it to like the plants I grow. So like I've learned how to apply the same math to growing plants to getting the best out of players or humans, period. You know what I mean? So I would think that the biggest transition I had was like, all right, less footballer ego to like, yo, I'm here for you. You know what I mean? I'm trying to make you the best footballer that you can possibly be. Never mind me. You know what I mean? As a player, you know what I mean? I'm here to nurture. So I think that was like the biggest thing as far as transitioning. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I don't really see it as work. It's like a heart space for me. So like, it's not really work.
Yeah. So on this show, right, we're giving people the flowers because I do follow your channel, your training channel. I just want to tell you, your stuff is dope.
Appreciate
you do some really dope stuff, right? So one of the question I have for you, like what's one of the stuff you enjoy coaching like professional players, and then what are some of your difficulty coaching professional players?
All right, that's a great question. Let's keep it funky. So obviously, like, okay, so I got to train, Joe Jow, he's from the area. And then also like Ryan Babel and those guys. So working with Joe is always like refreshing. It's always dope to see somebody from the area like doing it at that level. And he's just like a humble guy, like, he's a real one, you know what I mean? So I always have great vibes training Joe. And for the most part, training the elite athletes. I would just say training elite athletes too, you get to see the level of what they operate on, like their technical ability, and also just like them as like a different type of species when it comes to being an athlete. You know what I mean? Like if there were gladiators around today, like Babel, like Colin Kazzy Richards, those would be the gladiators. But I will also say that, a lot of those guys, they like the Ryans and stuff. I like him to like Kanye, like they're already who they are. You know what I mean? So sometimes as a trainer, you may expect a certain reciprocation back from these guys, and sometimes you don't get it. You know what I mean? Like the heart space, you're giving your all to them, and out of expectation, which is the wrong way to go about it, you would expect certain things back, you know, and sometimes, you know, they have busy lives, you know what I mean? So they go about doing their thing, you know what I mean? So I think that's probably, you know, the most difficult thing. But other than that, you know, being around those guys and seeing them day in and day out and learning exactly what it is that makes them that good and why they've, you know, reached to where they reached is pretty amazing.
Nice. I mean, just playing that question out, the same question, but applying it to, are you because you're also working with younger players, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, when you're working with a young player that you can see has a lot of potential, but for whatever reason, they're not tapping into that, you know, like that potential, you know, like with that, they could be a generational player, you know, we talk about David, Sadan, you know, all these guys, etc. One, have you ever worked with a player like that, working with a young player who you can see, you know, you've been around the block a little, you watched some videos of some guys, etc. So you can see like there's talent here.
Right.
But it's not just regular talent. Like this is some, you know, different type of talent. And when you notice that, what do you do as you're training them, you know, working with them to help them, you know, really tap into that, to who they are?
Right. So this is what I get that question often, and I have trained so I have one kid now, little Jay. He's probably one of the best players in the country. And I've been training since he's 5. He's like 9. No, he's 11 now. And then there's Aaron. I think everybody knows Aaron in the DMV. But the thing about it is, and traveling, there's great players everywhere. Like there's literally great players everywhere. You turn. So, and I always tell people as well, it's like if I'm training you one-on-one and you're doing all the exercises amazingly, you're touching the ball differently, and technically you're amazing, but like, can you translate that into a proper 11v11 match with pressure? That kind of makes or breaks players. So like I try to put them in a position where they're already receiving as much pressure as they possibly can inside of that session to see if they have the mettle to be able to translate that, or go into a locker room where you don't speak the language, or go into a game where it's like, yo, if you don't produce this game, then you're going to get cut. You don't get paid. So like I try to throw a lot of that at the players who have that different type of talent. Because I mean, talent is just talent. You know what I mean? There's a lot of players with a lot of talent, and potential is just potential. You know what I mean? Like you have to fulfill it. So I just try to put a decent amount of pressure on those guys and see how they respond to it.
Yeah. So you pointed out that you're moving into the space of coaching. You're starting a club or a program.
Yeah.
Have you started, or you're
still? No. I started it. It's crazy because I like during COVID, obviously there was a lot of people who were just like not trying to be in groups and stuff like that. And a lot of people were just like, man, why am I even training? Like, it doesn't seem like there's an end to why I'm, busting myself. So I had a good group of like young men between the age of like 17 and like 21 who were like consistent every day. So they actually, gave me a lot to do during COVID. So we would wake up sunrise, be out there until noon, just grinding. And one player would tell another player would tell another player, till the group came like 12, 14, 16 players over, a certain amount of time. And these guys were like, oh man, I'm going to play for this men's league team. They're so unorganized. They don't even train, this, that, and the third. I'm trying to go play pro, but I don't have highlight tapes to send to these agents or clubs. And I was just like, well, why won't, instead of you guys going to different places, why don't we just keep this training group and just turn it into a team?
Yeah.
That way we can get updated highlight footage. You guys can get matches, and I can help you with my contacts, get you, to the clubs that, are looking for players in your position and your playing style. So that's kind of how it came about, and formed the club FC 4188. Did all the logistical stuff that, I didn't know goes into running a club as an athlete. You don't realize.
You just go and play.
Work,
You just
should. Work, man. So yeah, got all that stuff done. I'm still learning on the day. I learn every single day. But now we put this team together. We got into this preseason tournament in Maryland Majors. And then we won it. And then we played our first game last weekend of the season, our season opener, and we won that as well. So right now we're 4-0 as a club. We have some backing from Colin, Kazim Richards, which is amazing. He's been a blessing in my life. And 4 games, we got 13 goals for and 2 against. So just trying to keep going in that manner, you know what I mean?
Nice. All right. So as a coach, we had this conversation. We're gonna find a way to edit that and put that into this conversation as well. Or it might just be a gift for the audience. But so based on you entering the coaching arena now, who are you? Like, is your major influence in your coaching approach still Pep?
First is Frank Rijkaard.
Okay. Frank
Rijkaard. Like I said, he's playing the role that Davids played to me as a player. Frank Rijkaard played that role to me as a coach. You know what I mean? So Frank Rijkaard, then past that, I love Jose Mourinho. I respect his hustle. I respect how he didn't play at the highest level, but is able to coach highest level players. And that's a special niche. You know what I mean? It really is. Guardiola, for sure. I love Guardiola. I like the way Wenger went about his business. I have his book. It's pretty dope. But yeah, I would say those guys are probably my top guys.
Nice. Good. I mean, that sounds like a
great club.
Yeah. we got to see, especially that age, 18 to 21. That's when you're. I mean, what? We can play 3 90-minute games back to back. Still
no
ready.
Issues.
You're ready. So no, that's
do you
good.
Play as well? Do you play your coach? A player coach?
Nah, I don't do the player coach thing, man. I had a couple player coaches in my day. Oh, let me back up. Darren Sawatsky too. I had to give a big shout out to him. He's the best coach I played for as a pro. But nah. As far as your question is concerned, I don't play. I hop in with the boys at training to let them know the level, but I don't play at all. Try to give that space to them because ultimately it's for them. You know what I mean? Like, I think, especially in our culture in football, like, there's too many guys not getting out of the way to help the next generation. You know what I mean? And that's where I'm at right now. I'm trying to run. On, man.
Okay. So now,
I'm like excited, man. Look what you just did.
Now we're entering a whole nother realm. Okay. All right. So let's talk about this. I mean, you brought up something that's a major issue in a lot of realms, but in particular in the football realm, which is folks that are have provided a lot of use to the game, provided a lot of assistance, knowledge, etc. But there are other folks coming up, and instead of providing a platform or assisting them and getting out of the way, there's that blocking. Because everybody, you could argue is I guess it's a survivor, like folks is looking out for self, etc. But why do you think that's a persistent issue in the football culture?
Honestly, I to be completely honest with you, I think it's just like an ego pride thing. Especially with like football, because, you know, the love you have for football, like people that are not attached to the sport, they don't know that passion. It's a different type of passion. You never want to let it go. And if you achieve something, whether it be playing, training, coaching, you don't want to let that go. You want to be known and you want to have your space. You know what I mean? We all kind of go through that. You know what I mean? And I think, to be completely honest, it's like you get more love, respect from the younger generation when they know that you're genuinely trying to help them get where you got. You know what I mean? And in our sport, especially in our sport, it's like, what have you done lately in the sport to give you that ranking? So guys that are older, they don't want to give that spot up. You know what I mean? Every day they want to prove that, like, yo, I'm here. You know what I mean? But I think it takes like a selfless person, a person that's extremely secure in themselves in the sport, to be like, yo, like, I have my time, you know what I mean? And I'm going to give my knowledge, my energy to you so you can set up and move on and branch out and reach other people, you know what I mean? So I think that's a huge thing, man. And everybody goes through it, though.
Yeah. And so also to add on that, right? Because especially from this area, in the DMV area, where, you know, especially our age, you know, third growing up, no one was looking at this area. So I know there's a lot of players that's kind of hurt too, and they never had the opportunity where these young guys are having. So I think that play a lot of role as well.
Big facts. Nah, that's big facts right there. Yeah, I got, like I said, I have homeboys that kind of fall in that realm too. It's like, and then it sucks though, because this area of football, like, we have produced a lot of really great players, especially in the, let's say, you know, if you're born 85 to 90, like, there's a lot of talent there. And like you said, it wasn't like, you know, if you didn't know, like, you know, Mr. Philip Jow, like, who's really like putting you on that stage to make it, you know what I mean? And I think that is something that a lot of guys in that age group are like kind of salty over, you know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, these young guys, all you got to do is be a 7 out of 10, post yourself on IG. Next thing you know,
7 out of 10.
Oh man, no, that's so true. I mean, actually, we had this conversation, the coaches. So, you know, there's the. Okay, let me just say this. So it's tough when you're coaching, right? Like, if you were a dominant player, and you know, you had certain attributes that you were gifted, technically, physically, or whatever, and you also won. So you were dominant. You know, like, you have to kind of remove that when you're coaching.
Tough.
Right? It's tough. And also the second part I'm going to say about that is, because we have this discussion, even with James, etc. Right? So, like, because we were a certain level when we were playing, right? Like, you know, especially when you're young, like I said, like, we would play 3 games a day and it's nothing, you know,
right.
And 3 real games, like in the Russian league, in the El Salvadorian league, you know, not like just, you know what I mean, like real tough games, right?
Yeah.
And then, so when you do that and you get older and age starts adding up, and, you know, the injuries starts adding up, and you're also coaching, there's a point where you have to kind of make a decision, because the issue is, like, even though your body is older, your mind still thinks you can, you know,
Do it.
The guys coming, you can hit the ball this way, run around him, like, you know, do across, like, I mean, your mind still thinks you can do that, but your body, there's a huge disconnect, you know what I mean? And so we end up, like, I mean, there's a whole generation of guys that the knees are shattered, hips are shattered, ankles are shattered, you know, like, we can barely walk, you know? And there's always this issue, like, if we're gonna, like what you said, like, be a coach and give our all to the kids, one, we have to be able to physically just even stand up, you know?
Right. Nah, you're right.
And so, like, you know, like, I'm constantly talking to a lot of guys about, like, and we've had this discussion even amongst our, you know, within the club and the coaches, like, you know, at some point, you got to kind of like just play pickup, just
Yeah.
knock the ball around. Like
Yeah.
we can't be running out here because you're gonna get injured and not be able to even coach these kids that you
Yeah.
try to help out. So there's that
That's a good
dynamic as
point.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's that dynamic where it's like there's also like there's getting old and not getting out of the way, for the young kids. But part of that is because mentally, like even though our bodies have, our minds still think we're still there,
Yeah, and your heart wants to be there still.
Yeah.
Your heart is always there.
Yeah.
You're always there. Yeah, for
And
sure.
so it's like it's hard to, because even when you're coaching kids, I mean, even that age, like I can't actually. I need to come to one of your games because I can't imagine watching those games and seeing those guys, and then if they're not, doing something that he used to do, you know what I mean? Like the frustration would be because you have all the tools.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At least with the younger guys, you can say, okay, you're still developing, but at 2021, you need to be getting busy every touch, So no, man, that piece about like coaches getting out of the way is a big piece. I mean, I don't know what the answers are, but I think one of the things we can do as this generation of coaches is to be vocal and intentional about it, right? So like when we come in touch with other guys or girls within our universe that are hitting that bumping their head against the wall and kind of making the decision to kind of let the next generation rise. We need to be the voice to let them know, like, Ty, it's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
It's okay. You had your time, you got busy, etc. Like now let's look out for this next generation and put them on our shoulders so that, our legacy can be more than just our playing performance. Our legacy could be like, we push this entire generation to heights that, we never even dreamed of, like
we never even or not. We didn't have the opportunity to achieve those things. And I think for me, that's my real driving factor right now. It's like, for me, it's like, okay, I wanted to play pro before my peers. And I know that's external motivation, but it's also intrinsic as well. But now I'm in the same mode of like, if I'm playing tug of war with, I can still ball out, and versus like give my all to these guys training and coaching, then I'm never going to reach where I truly want to reach as far as trainer and coach. You know what I mean? I have to really, 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 really dive into give. And obviously it starts with myself, like giving myself all the tools that I need to achieve being a great coach. And being a great coach is ultimately, producing, crazy players, crazy teams, you know what I mean? So like, that's my driving factor, is giving my all into that space.
Yeah. What would you say has been your most memorable moment as a player?
Oh man, I would say playing preseason with San Cristobal, like getting actually in the match and not sitting on the bench and watching the game, but like getting in, playing on the field that R9 played on. Like, I didn't really know Portuguese that well. So it's like I'm in a game where nobody's speaking English, you know what I mean? And I was just like, man, like, mama, I made it. You know what I mean? Like that feel, you know what I mean? Like, that feel, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's dope. And then what would you say has been memorable as a trainer?
So many, honestly. So many. I can't leave out Joe Jow. Like, I can't leave out Joe Jow. Like, training him is pretty dope. But I would say I have many, man. But Colin Kazim Riches, I would say that's pretty dope because he didn't know me. He saw me off of IG and he hit me up during my inbox. And a week later, I'm in Mexico, like literally in his, mansion of a house, like watching his kids, training his son Kyle. And I think that was a full circle experience because the crazy thing is, remember I told you my Bethesda team went to England. We went to England my senior year. And the same time I got to watch UC Ascalon, I watched Sheffield play Bolton, and Kazim Richards was in the starting lineup for Sheffield. You know what I mean? And I was just like, when he hit me in my message box, I'm like, Ross, like, I watched you play live, you know, when I was a teenager. Now you're hitting me up, you know, 10 years later and asking me to come train you and your son. Like, wow, like that was, yeah, by far, that's it right there.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, that's dope. Yeah, I mean, it's always it's always funny how life comes full circle in unintentional ways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. So as a, you know, you're training, you know, what, I mean, you can touch on this as well, but from what I've seen is you know, you do a lot with the ball, but you're also doing a lot with body mechanics, you know, with these players. So what would you say? I mean, one, you can talk about that aspect as well, but the other side of the question is, what would you say you do differently as a trainer than other trainers?
Well, one, like I said, like I mentioned before, like I train from the heart space. So like, I'm not training you as athlete A, athlete B, athlete C. Oh, I have this written down in my curriculum. This is what we're going to do. Like it's more organic and it's more universal than I think most of like your typical trainers, you know, approach sessions. You know what I mean? I don't just work under a time base. I work under getting things done. How your body is telling me how you're feeling, how your energy is telling me how you're feeling. And then I just go from there, you know what I mean? And man, as far as like the kinetics, it's a thing now where I've kind of evolved from like, I used to like go away from weights totally. But there's a place for that, but there's a lot of things that we skip in the exercise science world, you know what I mean? And a lot of things that are quite obvious, you know, like training so much in a linear plane and through MSc is what it's called, like muscular systematic engineering. You kind of can fix like your motor patterns that we pick up from, you know, being in that systematic, get in the gym, bench press, you know, get in the gym, curl and things like that. And tailoring your movements more so to the movements that you actually do on the field and doing it in such a synergistic way that you're actually creating strength. Because what is it? Time under tension is strength. So if I can mimic a movement of striking the ball and move synergistically, then what's going to happen when I get on the field and I connect with that rock? I'm going to do it like a slingshot. I'm going to do it like forcefully. I'm going to have built up that inertia and do it so violently and also so safely that I don't have to worry about injury. So like, that's more my approach, aside from like the technical and like the skill-based exercises.
Yeah, well said.
Nice. Well, you know, it's been a pleasure. You know, well, here's what I'll say. I think James kind of pointed this out from, you know, that he likes your videos and you know, what you're doing on IG, etc. But what the other thing I would say is, so, you know, for footballers only, this is this platform that we, you know, as you saw, you know, you got on.
I messed with that though. I ain't gonna lie, I messed with that.
You know, we're already in it. You know, we're already talking. You know, etc. Because it's, you know, it's a genuine interest and passion for football. You know, like that's the overriding thing here. Is, you know, this we like, you know, we just love the game, you know what I mean, and getting to know more about the game, different folks' stories, etc. You know, and this platform is, you know, it's a combination of obviously talking about the game, but it's important to, you know, learn the different stories that's out there. Like, you know, the point you made about, you know, the fact that there's a, you know, that 84 to 90 birth year crew, there's a bunch of ballers who never really got to, you know, reach the full potential. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of those. That's a good example. There's a lot of those stories that are like in this you know, like it's like a ball fist type thing. You know what I mean? Like it's like why is this one guy or girl getting all the shine when I was a better baller than her? You know,
right.
but nobody knows. You know, like
right.
And so that's one of the things we're working on here is to make sure that the various stories get told. Right? You know, everyone has an opportunity to to tell their stories and then there's also folks that are doing a lot of great work in the community, etc. And those folks should receive their flowers. One of the things I would say about you, though, is that I don't think we've ever physically met, right? And I reached out to you, and you checked us out, and from the get, you're like, oh yeah, bet. You know what I mean? Like what you guys are doing is official. I'm with it. You know what I mean? Like, let's just, find a date, time, etc. And we're we're going. And for me, that's my, James, or anybody would tell you, that's my temperament, right?
All right.
So when I see someone is doing, something that's adding value, full support in and jumping on board, etc. But that's not the norm. I mean,
right. No, you're right about that.
we can all admit to that. And so when you responded the way you did, I was like, oh wow, like let me, there's a different type of energy here, and so then when you got on the call and we're already going, and then the way you just dived into the conversation, etc. Showed a lot about your character, which is what I want to get at.
Dope.
And and so even though we haven't had a long relationship, I still think for me, I'm a good sense of character, and I think what you display in the short period of time that we've met and known each other says a lot about you, like as a person, which is bigger than as a player, coaching and that stuff. So I want to make sure you receive your flowers. No, I'm serious. Like, because the thing is, we give a lot of credence to folks that are not good people. You know what I mean? And then there's good people out here that we don't support or give the flowers to. But yeah, we, instead of doing that, we complain about the not good people, And so for me, my energy is always spent on praising and giving flowers to folks that are good people and have good energy, and then the folks that are not, like, I'm not even like, it's just what it is.
It just is what it is.
Yeah. So,
but you're glass half full type of guy.
Yeah. Exactly. So so we want to say thanks. It's been a pleasure.
So before we go, this is the last question. Who's winning the Champions League? Yo, you got
City.
This is on this episode.
Okay. So we'll do an episode in the summer where
Chelsea would.
So whoever wins, okay, like if City wins, James, you're gonna have to do push-ups. If Chelsea wins, Ty, you're gonna have to do push-ups. But the episode would probably be around when the team Ty, when your team is in the finals. When they, because it's looking like you guys are getting busy. You know what I mean? Like, so we gotta come to the finals and then do like a sideline episode after the game.
That would be love.
What will you do?
Yeah. No, definitely, man.
Thanks, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah. Bless, man. I appreciate you guys having me.
Thank you. We'll definitely link up. I got some ideas as usual of things that we could do. But it's been a true pleasure. Thanks a lot.
No doubt, my G. You guys enjoy the night.
You do the same, man.
Bless up, man.
Yeah.